get to the hotel, can you use the old Hitachi one? The day after the achievement? Dead?
Mira cómo tarda mi. Estaba mirando. Para el Howard Cosell. Para el Howard Cosell. Elmer getting ready to set up. ¿Cómo no se mira bien? Ya, está bueno. Ay, no, está bueno. A mí se quedó la camisa. ¿La tuya se quedó? La gana conmigo, pero la vamos a conmigo. Porque fue en la tuya se paga. I'm not in Mexico. I'm in a family. Those are Elvis family. I am at New Mexico in a family meeting.
Everything that's happening is the way they want it. Yeah, but you can't go from 70 to 15 right away. You can go yeah, that's not part of it.
And do they have that one?
No, those are your dad's.
No, the one down.
Those are your dad's.
What about over there?
Are they over there?
I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
No, this one. Look.
That's a bag?
Is that one of your bags?
Could be.
Is this it? No one? Vista print. Say it again. This is Abnufos, probably. Yeah, it's Abnufos. Leave it where it was.
¿Qué buscas?
Huh?
¿Qué buscas?
No, we're just looking for a couple of bags. Don't lose your phone. Don't lose your bags. Don't lose my mind. I don't know what happened. Never saw. Just speeches and stuff.
Last night I made a deal with my mom. I got the deal.
You already got it? What are you gonna do? You give her?
Como if you buy the game of turkey, you don't $10 gift card.
Huh?
If you buy the game of turkey, she give you a $10 gift card. And you give it to my mom.
She did it real quick.
Oh, then she went and did it. She went looking at the. The TVs are fixed. The whole house I can't move it. I need that to use on the projector.
I'll take a picture. Hey, Frank, you want to do Frank wanted us to tell you that we have coffee and pastries out there. You guys know in the other room. If you guys want, we can do a Q&A right now. If you guys want to ask questions while before we really get started with the agenda, I thought I would offer and told Frank that I would do a Q&A session for anybody who would like to sit down and talk about any issues about what New Mexico's doing, how we're connecting, what we do. We want to make sure that the Texas folks are here very early and very prompt. Thank you. So feel free to holler. We'll do our best. I can't answer. We'll get the question for a speaker later. So we talked a little bit this morning, right? So if you guys have any other questions that came up, write them down. Raise your hand. We'll get a Q&A going.
Steve. Go get more. You already know where they're at. Go get more. You know where they're at.
Yeah. You take a quick picture of the agenda here so I have a copy. How are you?
To the music out. Hey. You got no soft music?
No questions for the big crowd?
I have a lot of questions to ask you.
I have a question. What do you expect to hear here that could influence you or change your mind, or are you just here to absorb whatever's going on? I am from Illinois. My name is Jose Sierra Jr. I'm with Two Countries, One Law. We're a non-profit organization that is fighting for the land grants. We're out of Texas. Do you have any concerns or questions? Feel free to ask, but I'm asking you, why did you come to this? Anybody want to say anything? By Mr. Falcone? Yes. Well, I was there too. Yeah, I was there also at the Omni Center or whatever it was. What did you think about that meeting? Yes. Now, Mr. Falcone is very involved with the atrocities and the injustices that had happened to all of the land grant descendants, or Hispanics in general, in Texas. And his organization is another organization we work with. Yeah, I think he has another meeting coming up in Corpus. So just to let you know.
25th of October.
We have Agustin Moreno is from Corpus Christi. He lives there and he is well versed on that organization. He talks to John Falcone all the time. So if you have any questions, he will be able to answer. He's with our organization.
I had a call with him before the conference. I was going to try and make it up there. I put it on my calendar. Unfortunately, I didn't look at my calendar until the day before the event. I took a new job in June, and so my schedule was relatively hectic. But I was very impressed by the conversation I had with him, and I believe it's just for land grant. I sit on the executive board for the land grant council here in New Mexico, and we have the town of Chisco grant, which is under siege by the British. Barclays has taken control of 55,000 acres.
In a minute.
¿Quieres que te agarre?
No, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Huh?
I'll do it. Don't worry about it.
I'm relatively new in the land grant movement within the last 8 to 9 years. I'm an IT person, so I've done a lot of research, so I can be viewed and used as an IT resource for a person that has a large archive of constitutional information that's out there. And there's a lot of great people doing a lot of great work. It's just the power of unity is a lot stronger than we are individually. So that's why I'm here. Frank invited me to come up and we help financially and help co-host the event here. But the Taos Community Solution really was did the majority of the work to put this together.
The way ahead of the schedule. Badass.
I have a copy from the original, but I'm not sure what you choose.
Did you happen to see my presentation in Corpus Christi? You did? Okay, let me tell you something. I want to apologize to you. We were under time constraints there also, and there was other speakers there, so we were not allowed, and we sort of got cut off at the end, and I felt kind of bad because we didn't even unfold. Go ahead. We're going to give you the presentation again, except this time, if you remember, the Omni Center had audio-visual problems. Elmer, who was there and set up all the communication stuff, had issues with the different types of equipment. I think this time we're going to be a better time. We're in good shape. He's telling me we're ready to go. You're going to get a good presentation.
Did you have the one, I think you said that
to San Antonio 2 weeks ago, and we had a good crowd there. And they also want us to come back. They loved our presentation. We met some very, very amazing people in San Antonio, and the word is spreading, especially if you saw the presentation, you get an idea today what these people in Albuquerque haven't seen, or other states that are coming. They're going to see the real story of what really happened to your ancestors' lands, the true story. I have been asked to write a book. There was people that are talking about making a movie of this thing, as crazy as it may seem. We're just so busy because we're going in a huge swing through Texas. We've been to about 6 or 7 cities in the last month or 2 months, and it's just time-consuming right now to get the word out. This program, or this presentation we do, Two Countries, One Life, is an educational program. Because we find out that not only are the descendants not sure if they're even descendants, or if their genealogy goes back to the original grantee, but they also don't even know the story of how they got their land stolen. And we are going to give you that in full detail today. Frank has allotted us the extra time to be able to give this presentation. You saw the presentation. How did you like it?
I thought it was fantastic. I was wanting to go to more than 12.
Hey, Joe, stand up there on the podium top.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. They want me to move. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just saying, I had wanted to go to the one on the 12th because I had, like you said, the video was a little bit.
Yeah, we didn't move. Now it's too late.
But I couldn't go because I had no commitment. So I imagine I'll do that the other day.
We're actually, they've asked us to come to Laredo. That's probably the last city that we haven't moved yet. And I'm going to be honest with you. When we leave these cities, they all tell us the same thing. Had we known this, had we known that you were going to tell us this, the real story, I would have brought my whole family. Can you come back again? And that's all we hear over and over and over again. The problem is, it's very time-consuming. It's costly to go. This is a big state. Trust me. It costs a lot. Even though gas is cheap, we spend a lot of money driving vehicles around. I'll let Elmer address that issue when he gets a chance. He'll talk about it later. We have had requests. The problem we have is this. This information that we have, there are other people that are watching us very closely. And one of them is the state of Texas, and the other one is the federal government. Because we have hit a raw nerve, and I think you saw that, right? Okay, well, God bless you, man. I'm glad I got people here that saw that presentation and know what it's all about. We have to be very careful with this because even though we are searching for attorneys, we have yet to accomplish that mission, which is to get an attorney to file suit against the United States and Texas. And we're hoping now that we sit here up here today, and hopefully there's other states that have representatives here, that we form some type of coalition, much like John Falcone, what he's trying to do. And you can see this is very complex and it's very, very, very amazing story. So I will say to you this, that Elmer is got his hands full right now with just doing presentations. But when we take a break here for a month or two, we'll probably sit down and make some videos. And we've had a lot of people ask us if they want to buy a copy for their own families and whatever.
Do you have a date for your Laredo meeting?
You know what? Tentatively, we're talking October the 3rd, but we're so busy, I don't know if we're going to make it. But if it isn't the 3rd, and I'll tell you where it's going to be. It's the Mackenzie Library. We have a librarian there we work with, Lisa Ann, her name is, and she's a very, very sweet lady. But we're working on getting it October the 3rd, but I'm not sure it may go to October the 10th. So look for it on the 3rd, and then call the library and find out if you want. We're trying. There's a guy that's going to donate advertisement for us. He wants to put, because he saw our presentation, and he says, you got to get everybody to see this. So he's willing to pay for the newspaper ads to get more people involved and see this. I hate to say this, but once people see this presentation, the anger or the resentment of how your ancestors were treated is going to hopefully drive us to all together and cause this whole movement to explode. So, like I said, we're working on it. Any other questions? Well, thank you for coming to Corpus Christi and watching me over there too. I appreciate it. Turn it over to anybody.
Joe.
Anybody have any information?
Joe,
Yes.
let them know that they're live. If they want to call their family and let them know that they're going to be live today.
Are we broadcasting live today? Elmer, is that for real?
Right now, we're broadcasting right now.
Okay, we're broadcasting live on a podcast. We're internet driven, so if you have family members that want to see this, they can dial up with, what do we have for a title? Okay, and did we verify that it's actually transmitting?
Yes. They're
We
coming
did?
from.
Okay, good. If you want to let your friends know, families. All right, thank you. By the way, where do you all live?
Austin,
San Antonio and Austin.
Dallas,
Dallas.
North Dallas.
Oh my God. Family, right? Did you drive an RV out here? Yeah, that's a long way.
Do y'all have a Facebook page?
Yes, we sure do. Elmer, you want to talk a little bit about the Facebook page for our folks?
John Otrisco has an Otrisco Land Grant Facebook page. So we also have a website, otriscolandgrant.com.
Yeah.
For those folks, we're looking at from very Otrisco Land Grants. We have it directly for the land grants that we work through the executive council here in the state of Mexico to help reinforce the laws on the books. Mexico in the Constitution has the Treaty of Guadalupe, whether it's Bill of Rights, enumerated in order to protect that. They've not done a great job doing that. I recently just joined the Land Grant Association Council Executive Leadership as a board member. I've been so busy with our own land grant, I haven't had a chance to participate at the executive level with that Land Grant Council. We have Danny Head on the back here. He's also on the Several is back in the back here. He's an educator, works with us on land grant issues. I think it's a great idea. I presented a land grant association concept about 3 years ago to our council, but the council's agenda did not continue to do that on their agenda. So I came back around to get on the executive committee to make sure it gets revisited. I think it's a great idea for us to unify across the United States. We've reached out to obviously Pat Trevino in Texas. I've never met Mr. Sierra before. We have Don Justin Jones in California. It's a California group. We have Shirley Romero in Colorado. We have an Arizona group that's willing and ready to jump in and participate. And hopefully we can create some kind of art-like organization, the senior group, where we get enough membership, critical mass, in order to make enough membership so we can have staff attorneys, staff lobbyists to be able to lobby for the big boys. You're going to see a representative video shortly that shows that the power of big corporations heavily outweighs this room. And our ability to be effective at the congressional, legislative levels are very difficult. And we really have to take a look at the power structure and make sure that we make a change. If we continue to do what we've been doing in the past, we'll end up in the same place.
And to speak back on that Facebook page, 2 countries, 1 law. That's our website page. If you click on links on our page, it will take you back to our Facebook page automatically, and then you can join in with the chat on there. Oh, you got it? He's got it up for you, ma'am.
You guys have PowerPoint on that laptop?
Elmer? You need PowerPoint?
That's how our agenda goes, but I do have a PowerPoint that we talk about.
You put up the back.
Will you be posting on the Facebook page when you have a definite date for the Laredo presentation?
Yeah, Elmer will post that Laredo date
Okay.
as soon as we get back to Texas.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll have it up in a few days. We're not scheduled to leave here till Sunday, so give us a few days to get back. You know it's a long drive. We have to drive all the way back to McAllen and Brownsville. That's past where you live.
Long drive.
Oh yeah, it's a long way.
A lot of cars in Houston. That was a long drive there and back.
Well, I'm very. There's an old Indian proverb where it says, "My heart soars like an eagle." When I see people like you that came a long way, and you know what? It's not that you don't have anything to do. You chose to do this, and my God, my hat's off to you guys.
Well, we started our genealogy back in the early 90s, 1992, 93. So we passed that stage, we lived through the Unclaimed Minerals Commission and all that fiasco that went on, and so, we're just here to see what the commonality is amongst the states. And, I think Texas's problem, the root problem is just decades of and years
herencia. And they talked about things that I didn't understand back then. And I thought for sure, well, Texas is a big state, there's other people involved. But, people tried and they didn't make it. They failed, but you have to give them credit. We spoke with Amita Zarate, and I told you she was with the ADR since 74, 76. And she's 95 years old, she's still alive, and she still thinks about this. So we also see a lot of people that have fought the fight, but they haven't been successful. So we got together, Sierra and Elmer Sierra, we're all last name Sierra, and we just sort of decided to move to a different venue, a different way of attacking this. Because you see, the Juan Cortinas that lived many years ago, and even the Tejadinas out of New Mexico, they had an approach where they thought they were doing the right things, but they didn't succeed. It's not that everybody was doing the wrong things, they did whatever they thought it was right at the time. And Frank and I had this discussion, and we both agreed that the way to win this battle, let's call it that, is to be educated enough to understand what happened. And that's what we do in Texas. We educate our people. You're going to get educated today again. Hopefully you won't be bored. And what people need to understand is what happened. It's the who, what, where, why, and when. And nobody knows it. All they know is we got a land grant that my relative had 200 years ago, but I don't know what happened. We need to know what happened now. We need to tell our children what happened. We need to educate each other and also people that are not land grant descendants. Why? Because it was an injustice that was done. It needs to be rectified. Is anybody quick to speak? Because I'll get off. I'll quit talking. All right? I was watching the television a few months back, and I was back in Illinois with my camp. And my son, who's here from Illinois, he flew in last night. And I was watching what was going on in Ferguson, in Baltimore, and all of those different areas where this black issue was starting to surface. We had a long discussion because, you see, on Monday, I turned the TV on, and it was all black kids in the streets. And it was an injustice that, they felt they needed to speak out on. So I turned the TV on Tuesday, and it's all black kids again. And they're talking black people. On Wednesday, I turned the TV on, and the majority of the kids in the street that day were white. And I said, whoa, what happened here? How did these white kids, they're young kids, college kids, what happened? The dynamics all of a sudden switched from an all-black, type of intervention to now we have people that are not all black. And why are they involved? So immediately I got my family together and I said, hey, we got to talk about this. What are we not doing that they're doing? What is it we're missing as descendants of land grants? Why aren't we watching and learning from these people? Because they have their own injustice, just as we do. So I have an Anglo brother-in-law, I love him to death. And, my family is mixed, half Hispanic, half Anglo, which is the world today. And they all sat there and he said to me, the reason you don't have kids in colleges and white people in your organization fighting this injustice is because you're talking about the money. And I said, wait a minute. Hold on here. What do you mean we're talking about the money? They said, because all you care about is the money. When you go to Texas, that's all people talk about. This is my land grant, this is my descendants, and here's what we have, they owe us. Well, wait a minute. How does that transcend to another generation or another race? How do we get that involved? And they said, no, because you're not talking about the injustice, you're talking about the money. And I said, you know what? You're wrong. I'm going to defend these people These are my relatives in Texas. It's not about the money. It's about the injustice. He said if it was about the injustice, it'd be in the streets. It's about the money. Because you see, he woke me up. He's right. I've been to South Texas in the last 6 months now. And everywhere I go, from Corpus Christi all the way around the horn, San Antonio, which I told you about just that. And the first thing people are talking about is me. And dinero. This is what Texas owes me. This is what and I'm thinking, wait a minute. Where's the we part of this? What about the injustice? Talk about the money. Let's talk about the injustice. What was done wrong to you, your ancestors? Because you see, if you zero in it, it's about you and your money and how much you're supposed to get, then you're not going to have these college kids coming and helping you because they're not about the money, they're about the injustice. Do you agree or disagree? How do you feel about what I just said? Because you know, as a people, we need to talk to each other instead of about each other. And in South Texas, we do a lot of talking about each other.
I'll take a counterpoint on that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I don't agree with going to the streets. I think that we've been so apathetic over time that that's the weakest position to be in, is to go out into the street. So if I give you an example of my interaction with political folks, do I go to your legislature and go outside, rally 1,000 people, raise signs, and argue a point, state we want this, and this? All you're going to do is you're going to frighten the folks that are in leadership because they really don't know what you want, what you need. And one of the topics I talked about some time ago was a group from northern Mexico that wanted to do exactly that. Is I said, okay, so let's say I'm the leader of this organization and you're chanting and yelling outside at everybody. And then they say, well, what do you want? What are you going to tell them? I said, you tell me what you want right now. He wasn't able to articulate what he wanted. So, I think until we look at as a unified organization what our capabilities are, what the legal issues are, I would never want to start from a position of weakness. And I think a position of power is how we got into this position by the white Anglo-Saxon mental model, goes back to the Romans, on how they take control of a community, and then they end up with the wealth from that community. So I would argue that that's not a starting point. I would argue that we have smarter people, hopefully, to get them to be involved in the injustices, and I think going to the streets should be a lesson. That's mine.
And I appreciate and I respect that. But I couldn't agree with you. I disagree with you more. The problem with this philosophy that this, and I respect him. He has a right to his opinion and how he feels. My God, who am I to take that away from him? But for 167 years, patience is worn out. Because you see, it's the invisibility of a race that has brought this on. It's because we were not beings treated as equals. That's what has brought this on. So to sit there and say, Mr. Politician, and believe me, I've had my words with politicians. I went to Ryan Dean's office and met with him, and I've discussed this with very intelligent people, even though I'm not educated. What's on my side is the injustice. And injustice is a hard thing to overcome without raising your voice. Because when people articulate themselves, such as he did, and tell you the option is to go through the courts, the option is to do the right things. What's the right thing? We've already tried all those things, and we have yet to become a people that have been served justice. So, I respectfully disagree with you. But that's okay. That's the way it is. That's what makes the world go round. But I will tell you this. The fastest way to get politicians' ears is to put 100,000 people, and not kids, adults, just as you, in the streets and say, what what's going on here? Why are you not recognizing us and this injustice? Why is it that we haven't been served? Go ahead.
Commission in Texas, we saw, we heard, it was a complete board of men and women. And where did that end up?
I spoke at the commission. I don't know if you saw it. Did you? Okay. Well, you saw my speech there. When I went there, one more thing, and then I'll let you talk. When I went to there, I was driven to speak there. And I picked up on Moonful and I picked up Elmer and I said, we're going. And here's the point. They said, but wait a minute. The commission, they're not going to listen to you. I said, I'm not going there to speak to them. I'm going there to speak to the people. Because that's the problem. People are speaking to the commission. And the commission was not in tune to anything. They weren't listening to begin with. So let's talk to the people.
Well, they were discrediting a lot of the stuff that was being said.
Right. Right. Go ahead, Mary.
But I believe there has to be a balance between the burning desire for the money and the injustice, because the people have the burning desire for the money, but what we need to do is educate everybody on the justice, so that way they have the tools and the power behind them to go seek, and because once they have that, then the money will come hopefully at some point.
Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example of a family. Let's take it from a family structure and make an analogy to the, and are the Texas land grants community land grants or are they private land grants? So I want to make sure that when we talk about, whatever we talk about here, I like to hear people say we and us. When people say I, me, it's not a good thing. When I want to go to the street, when I want to do this, when I want to do that, it's not a good thing. There's other people involved, and we have not been organized enough to, for me, from my perspective, to feel that anybody talking about land grants represents me. I can say that this is a great venue for us to be able to say, I may be able to sit here and have a dialogue with very intelligent, well-articulated people that have volunteered and thank you for coming and traveling. But the whole, what we have to get to is how do we become effective and add value to whatever we do. We've struggled with this within our land grant. I can tell you that we have a couple of our board members, Jesse Anturis back here, Teresa Gonzalez, professor from UNM, University of Mexico. We all have our differences of opinion, but how do you operate from a position of power? When you have to relegate yourself and going onto the street, I think that tells me that have you already exhausted the opportunity to meet with somebody who's an elected official and be able to articulate the injustices? Because as soon as you couple your injustice with money, I think it becomes not a good thing. I can tell you that within our own land grant, our land grant is an urban land grant. In 2006, we had $300 million of real estate up for grabs with a California company. The temptations or the things that are put in front of you as a leader to all elected officials are a lot of lobbying dollars. Can you put on that video that I have, the MP3 players called Represent Us? It's a video that shows that no matter if you have 100,000 people in the street, you're not going to be effective in that paradigm too often. Lobbyists control a large amount of influence at the legislative level. They want you to go to the street because they want you to have a problem. They're probably going to put people in there that look like you, act like you, but are on the other side and enrage a riot. So the last thing I would want from my land grant is for a bunch of my land grant folks who I have never even had a chance to talk to be listen to something come out in the media. That's another travesty there, and listen to something and feel that they have some reason to go. If we're going to go to the streets, we need to go to the streets for a different reason, and it's not for the purposes that could happen by us going with a kind of an unorganized, uneducated, not in terms of intelligence, but what I'm saying is if we go without talking to all the masses first, as a first resort, and the streets a last resort, we interject too much uncertainty into the outcome. And so I would not want to do that. So we have taken an approach, a legislative, legal approach to understanding the problems, putting down and getting involved politically so that when we go to that elected official, which we have removed a standing senator within our district who did not cooperate with us. Talk about the effectiveness of that. When we go back to the legislature, Jesse back here in the blue shirt is our legislative committee chair. Very bright individual. He's helped us with helping me understand the legislative process in New Mexico. And so I think it's a last resort. And that's my personal opinion. And I would welcome a good conversation because I would hope that we would do something different before we got to the street. And can you play that? Here's a short video on, it's called Represent Us. It talks about the lobbyists and the power that the lobbyists have and the power that we don't have. And we have some elected officials here. If I have a rating system from Ben Lujan, Michelle Grisham, Heinrich, Udall, and Pierce, none of them would have an A, none of them would have a B, in my opinion. Because it's not about what you say, it's not about what you act like you're doing, it's actually what you do, and it's not for each individual land grant, it's for the land grants as a whole, because we all have the same issues, we have the same rights and privileges, and each land grant is impaired and have their rights been impaired in many, many different ways. And until they actually do something and stand to protect legally our laws and put laws in the books, look at the Hawaiian Act, what the Hawaiian Act did. When the Queen of Hawaii, in the absence of a king, decided not to go to war with the United States took a different approach dealing with the Queen of Hawaii, and they actually have a Hawaiian Act for lands there. So can you put that on and we can talk a little bit about that? Thank you.
For the last few years, I've had this sense that everything I learned as a kid about how American government works is completely wrong. But I had no idea how bad things actually were until I saw this one graph. Researchers at Princeton University looked at more than 20 years worth of data to answer a pretty simple question. Does the government represent the people? Now, this is what they found. This axis here represents public support for any given idea. On the left at 0% are ideas that not a single American wants. On the right at 100% are ideas that everyone supports. This axis represents the likelihood of Congress passing a law that reflects any of these ideas, from a 0 to a 100% chance. On this graph, an ideal republic would look like this. If 50% of the public supports an idea, there's a 50% chance of it becoming law. If 80% of us support something, there's an 80% chance. You get the idea. Now, most Americans would probably agree that, with a few exceptions, we should be as close to this ideal as possible. Unfortunately, the way America actually works doesn't even come close. Take an idea that nobody supports, literally nobody, and it has about a 30% chance of becoming federal law. Now, take an incredibly popular idea. The most popular idea this country has ever seen, and there's also about a 30% chance of becoming law. This means that the number of American voters for or against any idea has no impact on the likelihood that Congress will make it law. Put another way, and I'm just going to quote the Princeton study directly here, the preferences of the average American appears to have only a minuscule, near zero, statistically non-significant impact upon public policy. So if you've ever felt like your opinion doesn't matter and that the government doesn't really care what you think, well, you're right. But there's a catch. This flat line only accounts for the bottom 90% of income earners in America. Economic elites, business interests, people who can afford lobbyists, they get their own line. Look at how much closer their line is to the ideal. When they want something, the government is much more likely to do it. And when they don't, they have the power to completely block it from happening, no matter how much the rest of the country supports it. They get what they want, and guess who ends up paying for it? We pay for it with the most expensive healthcare in the world. We pay for it with a tax code that's a complete mess. We pay for it with internet that's slower and more expensive, with wasteful spending, a floundering education system, a catastrophic drug war, and 1 in 5 American children born into poverty. Almost every major issue we face as a nation can be traced back to this graph. let's say a big bank wants a law that would force taxpayers to bail them out again if they repeat the exact same reckless behavior that crashed the global economy in 2008. Not exactly the most popular idea with the public, and Congress knows that. That should be the end of it. But that's where the money comes in. It's perfectly legal for our bank to hire a team of lobbyists whose entire job is to make sure that the government gives the bank what it wants. Then those lobbyists can track down members of Congress who regulate banks and help raise a ton of money for their re-election campaigns. It's perfectly legal for those lobbyists to offer those same politicians million-dollar jobs as lobbyists. Then those lobbyists can literally write the language of this new bailout law themselves and hand it off to the politicians they just buttered up with campaign money and lucrative job offers. And it's perfectly legal for those politicians to take the lobbyist written language and sneak it through Congress at the last second. So now you've got a law that greatly benefits the banks, and the whole process can start over. This is how a bill becomes a law. A special interest hires some lobbyists. Those lobbyists collect campaign contributions, offer jobs, and then write the laws that Congress then passes to help those same special interests. This happens every day on every single issue with politicians of both parties. In the last 5 years alone, the 200 most politically active companies in the United States spent $5.8 billion influencing your government. Those same companies got $4.4 trillion in taxpayer support. And that's trillion, with a T. And that's just the top 200 companies. Never mind every other special interest, every union, every trade association, and every billionaire. Every single one of them used their money to buy political influence. You know, there's this idea out there that this only became a problem after the Supreme Court Citizens United decision in 2010. But the data goes back almost 40 years, and the results are clear. Corruption is legal in America. And as long as it is, anyone who can spend money to buy political influence will. The solution here isn't rocket science. Make corruption illegal. We already know Congress won't do it. I mean, one look at this chart will tell you that. What we need is a plan that lets us go around Congress and do what the American people do best. Fix this mess ourselves. Well, good news. We have that plan and it's already working. Now that we've got the problem covered, let us show you how to be part of the solution.
So this is a great video for us to take a look at, right? So that basically says that we are very ineffective if we operate in this dynamic. So they talk about legal and illegal. The conundrum that we're in is that I really respect the positions that people take, whether I agree with something or not. But the beauty of what we have today is that I think Mr. Sierra's idea of going to the streets is always an option. But I think if we put a lot of people in a room, smart people in this room, and we had a priority on what we were going to do that, I would hope that we would maybe have that maybe as a lower priority. Because I think politicians, if we don't want them, we don't have to re-elect them. They don't do what we want to do. They need to represent us, not lobbyists. So as long as we know the paradigm that we're in, I'm not opposed for an individual land grant and an individual community to stand up for a huge atrocity. But in mass, I can't see how land grants in general, all of them across the country, would go to the streets over an issue. So I think that if we have an issue, pick a target city, pick a target land grant, pick a target issue, and then we have a unification of ideas across our communities, and then we could go help, like a Ferguson. One situation that occurred, one injustice, but to try and solve world hunger, going to the streets, do the people in this room really understand all the issues that we would go to the street for? And I think that we have to understand the paradigm that we're in and be very forthright in what are the most important things we have to try and accomplish. And in my opinion, until we get to something like people have done like a SWOT analysis, like your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and looking at what our opportunities are, we have a great opportunity here. A threat is our elected officials, lobbyists, and then the weaknesses are we don't have a large constituent of heirs unified together to really influence the outcomes of much. So I think if you took some analysis, you took some structure, you have a strategic, like a plan to do something, we can start knocking off one small thing at a time. And I think that for us to come out in our first show You mentioned Tejerina. I totally disagree with what he did. I wasn't involved at the time. Jesse Ansur's here father was involved with that back then. I think that you scare people. We have the law on our side, and I think when you realize the legal basis, I put together a paper that I'll share at the land grant breakout session. That I think we need to look at our legal position first, because I think we want to. Before you go to the street, wouldn't you want to really know your legal position? I haven't really seen your presentation, Mrs. Sherry. I look forward to it. And I wouldn't walk out to any rally until I really fully knew what was going on. Not to say that it wouldn't be planned out, but I still think that there's a lot of different opportunities for us to try and unify our folks before we look at some of the more, the various options. And so I'm a person that says before we take action, let's plan. Before we plan, let's develop a plan. Before we develop a plan, let's get people involved. And that's my perspective on that. Thank you.
I just have a response to this statement. And I respect it and I appreciate it. Robert Kennedy was faced with a major decision. There was an unpopular war going on. People were protesting in the streets. Hundreds of thousands. My God, you all were alive back then. This is not something I'm making up. But what's interesting is a reporter came to him and said, "We understand you're running for president because you disagree with the war, but this protest out here against the government, you were part of the government." You remember he was the Attorney General. He said, "The only thing I have to tell you is this, that these people have a right to be out in the streets to protest when they feel their government is not responsive. They have a right to demand justice." And he said that the interesting thing about this is this, that a protest is not only a right in this country, it is a necessity. Without it, it cannot keep the government in line to a true democracy. The moment you lose that, the government does what it wants without any consequences. These are all great things, these charts and these graphs. Let's put yourself in a position, you're Nelson Mandela. What did he want? One man, one vote? 27 years in prison. That's okay. We'll wait. Let the system work it out. How about a guy named Mahatma Gandhi, who said the hour, the minute, the moment, my death is not in my hands. They told him, don't go down there. These people, they're going to kill you. He had a job to do because it was an injustice. The best one to give you is a man named Martin Luther King. Can you imagine King sitting around and me showing him charts and things, telling him, hey, this is the way to go? Do you think he felt that going in the streets was wrong? Because you see, civil rights was a way of life for only white people. And he knew it. He was a man of religion, a man of faith, and he knew that if he didn't do this right thing, to take the people in the streets, that justice would never be done. Think about it. It takes a rare moment in history and in life for you to seize it. But only God knows why these people did what they did and why they suffered and they fought for the struggle. But it benefited the masses. All I'm saying to you is this. You're going to see at the beginning of our presentation where, from the movie Zapata, where Emiliano Zapata, who was a real man, a real hero, fought for one thing that he knew was the only thing to have in those days was la tierra. And they told him, you must be patient. We don't make our corn tortillas out of patience. In other words, 167 years, and they're telling you to be patient. How long is it going to take? Do you think Mandela, when he spent 27 years in prison, said, gee, I wish I could get out of here in a couple of days? These things take time because history is channeling them to become an issue at a moment. And will remember that moment. Just as Mandela, just as Martin Luther King, just as Mahatma Gandhi. These were great men who seized the moment. This is our chance to seize the moment as a people and say, enough already. Yes, we don't want to go to the street. It's not our nature. You heard me tell you in Corpus. They knew your nature.